welcome. This is part 2 of the Halloween street sign kit that we're making, and in the last video we just finished the first part, and if you missed that video I will link it down below, so make sure to check that one out. In this video we're going to be working on the signs now, so I'm going to set this aside and we're going to work on the first sign. And it's black and it's number 13 in the instructions. And we're going to just put the beads and sequins all the way around as per instructions. And if you watch the first video, you know how to do it. So I'm going to grab my beads and sequins and we're going to get started right away. Okay, here's what this piece looks like, completely sequin and beaded. And I would like to point out that this kit does not have enough black sequins, like definitely not enough. I might have to go purchase some. I was able to find some from older kits, but yeah, pretty disappointed with the lack of black sequins in this kit. Or beads, I'm sorry, not sequins, but there's plenty of sequins, but beads, black beads, no, there's not enough at all. There was barely enough to finish this one, and we still have this entire thing to bead and sequin, so pretty disappointed about that. But anyway, next step is we're going to applique the letters 14 through 20, so all these that spell Haunted Highway. We're going to applique it to the sign, then add the embroidery to the center of the A, and the embroidery looks like this. So the A, we're just going to fill it in with a black, probably a satin stitch right here, just a little square. Or you could cut it out and don't even bother with the satin stitch. I'll see what I end up doing. And then once all the letters are appliqued, then we can add the sequins to the letters. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Pretty straightforward. We're just gonna cut these out one at a time, starting with 14 and then going. 14 is, where is it? Right here. So we're going to start with the H. We're going to cut it out, applique, and once I'm done appliquing and sequining, then I'll decide. I might just do the stitch here just so you can see what it looks like with the stitch. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and start on the purple. Now that we have all the letters on, we can add the embroidery here, and I'm just grabbing 2 strands of black, and I'm going to start on the widest part of the A right here, and I'm just going to do a satin stitch all the way across, and we're basically just filling in this area with satin stitch, and it's pretty simple to do. So we're just going to take the time to just fill it in, and if you feel like not doing this and just grabbing a piece of black felt and appliquing that, you can. I have done that before, but I wanted to show you how you're supposed to do it. So this is how you're supposed to do it. And then once I'm done with this embroidery, I believe we get to bead and sequin this piece with the purple sequins. Pretty sure they're purple. You can always go back and fill in the gaps that are too wide, like that. I'm just doing the basic satin. No fanciness right here. I'm just going just outside the stamp so that when it's finished, you don't see the stamp. Plus, the stamp is a really great guide for your needle. It doesn't have to be perfect either. You can tell by the font that the font is kind of wiggly, so you can kind of use that to your advantage by having a not so straight satin stitch. Okay, we're almost done. Try to make sure all the stamp is filled and you don't see it anymore. Might do one more. I probably could get away with it right now, but okay. So you can kind of just fluff up the, see how you can barely tell that it's a satin stitch because it's matching the background, so you could easily forego the satin stitch altogether and just cut out a small triangle of black felt and applique that, so it's up to you. But now we're going to add the beads and sequins to this project. And we're going to be using these purple ones, and we're going to be using clear beads with them. So I wanted to point something out. This kit was interesting so far with these particular sequins. I think that they gave me 2 different colors of purple in one bag, and I've had to sit here and sift through all of the colors, because if you notice here, let me actually zoom in a little bit. Look how different these are. These are so different from each other, and I'm using these kind. Because these ones are just kind of flat, and they're just not the same. Like if you put these two together, these are not the same color. Like this one's definitely more of a darker purple, and this one's more like a lavender. So I've had to sift through them, and I got about half of these in the bag they gave me. So luckily, I keep all the extra thread and extra sequins and beads that I don't use in other kits, and I was able to find the exact color that I needed from a different kit, luckily. So I just thought I'd point that out. I've never seen that before, where the kit comes with technically the same color, but they're definitely not the same. Like this one is definitely brighter than this one. These are more dark, and the cups are even different. Like the lines are not prominent at all. They're like almost flat, and these ones are actually cupped. So yeah, just thought I wanted to point that out. I'm almost done with this. I wanted to show you how I'm doing the beads. So I'm just putting a bead and sequin on here. I'm just going to finish this. I'm going to grab the sequin here. I'm going to come up from the bottom. I'm using 2 strands. Let me see if I can find my, I just had the sequins, or in the beads, I just had them. Okay, there, oh no. I should have prepared. I gotta find them now. Where did they go? I'm gonna have to open a new bag. I think I ran out of the white, or the clear beads, so I ran out. So I'm gonna open a new bag. That's probably why I cannot find my open bag. So I'm just gonna put these away. This is the bag that it came with. And these are all the rest of the colors that I just chose not to use because they're just not the same. So I'm just gonna put these away. Okay, and I'm just going to use the rest of the lavender that I had saved up from another kit. I gotta grab my painter's tape. Oops. let me find the one that rolled away. There we go. Don't roll away. Okay, so I'm gonna grab a sequin, and notice how cupped these are. The bead sits right here. So I'm just gonna grab a bead, and it's gonna sit right on top like a little saucer, and the bead goes on top. And then you push the bead over a little bit, and you go back down. If you go through the bead again, it'll just pop off. So we want to keep the bead secured like that. And then you go all the way down. And we'll do the rest of them. And then we'll work on the next part. I do have to tell you, cutting these letters out was scary because some of these areas, look how thin this is. I was so afraid that this would just like separate because it was so thin. Like right here, it is super, super thin right here. Like just the width of it, not necessarily the felt, but just the width of the letter. And here too, the U and the N, so thin. I had to make sure I put my stitches where it would be really secure. I mean, the font's really cute. That's my only complaint is how thin the lettering is. Okay, we're setting this one aside for now. I want to cut out the next one, which is 21. And this is just telling you this goes right here like so. So we're just going to cut this out real quick. And yeah, just making sure I'm cutting the right one out. I'm just cutting it away from the rest so I can put the green away. Okay, putting the rest away here. And we're just gonna cut around. I'm gonna start here. I want to save this piece. I like saving the long strips for other things. I might save this piece too, just to I might toss that one. I don't know what I'd use that one for. Maybe a tab or something. Let's see. I got a bunch of these scraps. I may just toss that one because it's so thin. Yeah, look how thin it is. I'm able to stretch it out. That's a little thin. I might just toss the green because the green's a little bit on the thin side. So let's just cut this out. And we're cutting the outline away, so we don't want to see the outline on our finished product. Oh my goodness. Story time. So my youngest daughter, she is learning how to climb on everything. And one of our chairs has the armrests on it, so it has like an opening between the chair and the armrest. And she managed to climb into that opening and she couldn't get out. Oh, poor baby. Luckily she wasn't stuck, so it wasn't too big of a deal, but it was kind of funny. Anyway, I'm going to cut the rest of this off camera. And then we'll move on to putting, we're going to put beads and sequins on here. I believe they're green. Let me double check. So to find out, so you look at piece 21 and you look at the symbol right here, which is, it's a clover. And then we go over to, oops. Then we go over to the chart right here, and this is green. So we're gonna use green, which is this color. This is the only color green in the kit. which matches really well. Give it a nice spooky green, kind of a, you know, the typical green you see at Halloween. And we're gonna add these onto here, and then we're gonna move on. Okay, so before I jump ahead, because I have, you know, sometimes reading the instructions is good. So it says to applique this black piece onto here first, and then we're gonna do the sequins. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm just gonna set this aside for now, and we're gonna applique this piece onto here. And I can kind of see why, because stuff's gonna go on top here, and having extra sequins will, I mean, it'll hinder the outline or the, you know, applique process. So we're just gonna line this up nicely, make sure the lines line up here and here, and we're gonna add some pins. You can also use, I've got these handy clips too that you could use. Let's see if I can not move. So those are handy as well. If you don't have any clips, pins work just fine. But I want to use these more. These work just fine, and they're great for like straight edges. For curved edges, not so much, but like this is perfect because I want to keep this as straight as possible because this is representing an arrow. So I figure I might bring my clips out and use them. And I don't know where I'm going to start sewing yet. I'll just pick a spot. But I'll just remove the clips. Okay, so I'm just adding a couple more here. Nothing fancy. But these are really great when you don't want to worry about getting poked. Give my fingers a break. I've been poked so many times. My fingers are just starting to heal up again. So we're going to grab some black thread. And I'm just going to start the applique process because it's black on black, so it's a little harder to see in the camera. So I figured I'll just show you how to start it, and then you can just continue to the end. And I'm just going to start here. So I'm going to go around the corner. I'm going to start right here. I'm just going to sandwich my knot in between these two pieces of felt. And I'll just continue all the way around. And then once we're done with this step, we have to cut out the back green piece. And we're gonna grab some more poster board and cut that out. And then we're gonna sandwich the poster board in between the front and the back felt pieces. So I'm going to continue this, and then I'm going to come back to the end. We're going to double knot it in the back, and then we'll do the poster board. Okay, so I got this all appliqued, and I don't have like a big piece of poster board like I usually do. I ran out, so I'm just working with what I have right now, which is just like old kits poster boards that I just never use. I probably will end up running to the dollar store sometime in the next couple of days to grab some poster board. The dollar store next to me has 2 poster boards for $1, so which is great. So I might end up doing that. But in the meantime, I'm just going to use what I have, and I'm gonna grab my big ruler here. Last time I did not use a ruler, and that was dumb. So I'm gonna use a ruler this time to draw a straight edge. Just a rough straight edge. And I'm gonna end up trimming this down on the sides, but I just want to get a good idea, see how much room I have. So I'm gonna trim it quite a bit, but at least this way the line is straight. So I'm actually gonna start my line probably right here. And this is just a guide. of the cutting edge. So look how much room I got to cut like all of this. So I'm just gonna draw along here just to give myself an idea of where I need to cut. And then right here, I'm just gonna trace the back here. So with that away, I'm gonna grab my non-fabric scissors and I'm gonna trim this. I use the front piece because it's just here. I mean, it's gonna be the same anyway, so it doesn't really matter. You can cut out the back piece and use the back piece as well, so it's up to you. So I am going to cut off quite a bit right here. And I have a feeling I'm going to be cutting off a lot more. So I'm just going to set these aside. And flip this over and see where we are. So this is like this. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to trim it some more. I want to have plenty of room to applique all the way around it. That looks good. I'm gonna have to trim it here just a little bit. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna trim it this way. I'm gonna go in about 1/2 inch here. Carefully. It doesn't have to be beautiful because it will be covered up, but as long as it does what it needs to do. And that looks good enough. So I'm going to cut out the back, and I might point this out a little bit just to give it a little bit more of an arrow. It doesn't have to be completely straight because we're just inserting this, and I don't think this is stuffed. Yeah, so it's not stuffed. So it's just the poster board, which makes sense considering these are signs, and signs aren't usually puffy or, you know. We gotta find the back here, and the back is number 22, which happens to be this piece. So I'm gonna cut this piece out, sandwich this in between the two pieces, and we're gonna let's see, I'm just looking at the instructions of when I actually add the sequins. So it says use the back of the sign as a template to cut the poster board. Make sure the poster board is a little smaller. Sequin and applique. So we're going to sequin the piece first. Once this is cut out, we're going to set this and this aside, and we're going to bead and sequin the green, and then we'll add these two on top of it. So let me cut this out. You guys should have plenty of experience beading and sequining now if you followed along in my previous tutorial. And we're just gonna skip right onto that, adding these together. So when I come back, all the beads and sequins will be on here, and then we're just going to applique this together, and we'll be finished with, well, almost finished. We still got to do the ghost here. And then this 66 and 64, these go on very, very last. So these will happen, but towards the end of the project. So now that you've finished the green, we're gonna sandwich the poster board in between the two felt pieces. And I'm gonna use my Wonder Clips again to keep everything straight. What you could also do is applique just one side and then open it up, stick this in, and then close it. You could do that too. Like, there's no wrong way of doing it. I love these clips because I don't get poked like you do with the needles. Give my fingers a break from getting poked. Okay, there's one side. And I could just start sewing this side closed. I could just start right here. I'm gonna grab my green and we're gonna just sandwich the knot in between the green pieces and then applique all the way around. I kind of use the beads as spaces for my stitches. I've had several of you ask me about how I gauge my width for my applique stitch, and for pieces like this, the width of a sequin is a good width. Not too close together and not too far apart. If I had to measure the width, probably about, gosh, roughly a 1/4 inch, give or take. Here goes my pencil. I need to throw that pencil away. It's basically useless now. The kids got into my drawer, which had my big eraser in it, and they kind of destroyed it. And there's barely any eraser left, so I might just go grab another pencil. I don't know where my pencil sharpener went, to be honest. So if I flip this over, you can see the width of my stitching. It's pretty consistent. I mean, there's a couple of areas that could be a little better, but nobody's gonna see this. So, okay, you're gonna continue all along here, and you're gonna completely enclose this cardboard or poster board. It's not cardboard, it's poster board. And then we're gonna work on the next step, which I believe is, let's see. It says applique the front of the side of the back, making sure to insert the poster board and then set aside. So once we're done with this, we're done for now and we get to set it aside. And then we get to work on the next sign. I guess not the next sign, but like the next element. So the next element will be the little ghost. So we're putting the sign away for now, and then we're gonna jump to making the ghost that goes in front like this guy right here. So we're gonna be making the little ghost and we're gonna be putting it on that. So that'll be next. Okay, we are all done with the Haunted Highway arrow. Now we're just gonna set this aside, and now we're gonna work on embroidery and sequining the front of the ghost 23. First we have to cut it out. It's right here, and the embroidery is right here. It's just right along the neck. So I'm just gonna cut this out real fast. Ghost looks pretty easy to put together. So set the rest aside. We're gonna set this aside for now. I'm gonna cut out the little ghosty, making sure we cut the stamp away so it's on this side. Luckily, the ghost doesn't seem like it's too hard to put together, so. Looks like there's separate pieces for the eyes and the mouth. Okay, I'm gonna cut the rest of this out off camera, and then we're gonna dive into the embroidery. Yeah, this little ghosty cut out. We're gonna just look at the key real quick. So the embroidery is right here alongside the ghost head, and it's a black line. And if you look here at the symbol, that's the same. So it's 2 strands of black, and it's an outline stitch. So we're going to do that. And luckily, I've got some black already on a needle, and we're just gonna tie the ends together to make 2 strands. And we're gonna do the outline stitch. Now, because it's right at the edge, we want to be careful where we put our knot. I'm gonna put the big knot towards the inside, like this. And I'm gonna do a little outline stitch right here, trying to cover the stamp. And I'm not gonna go all the way to the edge. I'm just gonna get close to it. And I'm gonna angle my needle kind of inwards a little bit, like that. So that way it looks like I did it to the edge, but it's not really there. So it still looks like I finished to the edge. That way, if you decide to embroider before you cut out, this is a good method too, because you can accidentally cut your knots, and I've totally done that. I am guilty of that. It's no big deal, you can always fix it, but of course I left my scissors on the other table. Okay, so there's one side. And here is the other. If you have any stamp showing, you could always rub it off with your needle. It does come off. Or you could even trim it with your scissors if it's like a big chunk. They don't really seem to bother me, unless it's like a really, really thick line. Then I'll just take my needle and rub it off. Okay, I might do, this might be the last stitch. I'm just gonna take my needle, kind of go in at a diagonal, making sure it looks like it's going to the edge. Like that. And you can rub that off. It comes off fairly easy, actually. All there's left to do is to bead and sequin on this ghost, as well as put the little face on. So we're gonna look at the instructions and see what's next. Because sometimes I know what's next, but then I'm surprised. So I refer to the instructions very often. Okay, if I can get this open. So now that we've embroidered right here, you can see, zoom in a little bit. So we've embroidered here, and it says embroider and sequin the front of the ghost. So next we get to put all the beads and sequins on here. And again, if you refer back to this chart, it gives you kind of like a key right here next to the number. The square means that this piece is behind it. So anytime you see a square, that just means that's the piece behind it, by the way. I forgot to mention that in the first video. It totally slipped my mind, but that's what that means. Anyway, So we're using, I believe we're using white. So if we look at the chart, look at the key, it has a star, circle with a star, white, perfect. We're gonna use white, easy peasy. So I'm just gonna gather, I don't think I have any white open. I've got beads, so let's open some white. I'll zoom this out a little bit. So you're not so close. I love the zoom on my camera. It doesn't really affect the picture, luckily, so. Okay. So I'll start a couple for you so you know, just nice refresher on how to do beads. I know some of you like me showing every step, so I'm trying my best. And beading and sequining, if you follow me long enough, beading and sequining is probably one of my favorite things. I just love to just sit down with a pile of beads and sequins and just do all my pieces. And I mean, it took me a while to bead all these. Probably if I sat down and didn't get interrupted a million times because of children, I could probably bead and sequin the green piece within, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour. But I take my time and I like to make sure that I pick all the sequins and the beads and make sure it all looks nice. So, okay, let me grab some. I do not have any white prepped on my needles. So I'm just gonna grab a strand like that. Put it back, put it on my needle, grab my needle. Make sure you grab the right needle. I've done that before. I've accidentally grabbed the wrong needle before and tried to bead and go, whoops, I can't even do it because the beading needle, see right here, I just grabbed the wrong one. See, this is an applique needle and I need a beading needle. See the difference? Oh, I love it. As soon as I'm talking, I'm grabbing the wrong needle. I did not do that on purpose. So we're just gonna, I like to double up on mine. You don't have to. It's just habit now. I love having my beads and sequins secure because I've had them be caught before and break. So, and that just ruins it. So I don't want that to happen. You can start anywhere, so I'm gonna start right here because I can. But it doesn't really matter since it's just gonna go all the way around. Just make sure your sequins are facing the right direction. You're gonna keep going. And that's what the back looks like. It's hard to see because it's white on white, but that's what the back should look like somewhat. And then you're just gonna go all the way around and stop here, and then we'll do the next step. Now that we've finished with the beads, we're gonna work on the eyes, which are 25, and the mouth is 24. And I already looked ahead, and we're going to be appliquing these pieces onto the face first, and then we're gonna add the embroidery on top of it. So that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna start with the mouth first, since it's just alphabetical order. I did notice this little spot here in the middle. I'm gonna rub it off because it doesn't belong there. So one thing about working with small elements is you just hope that the felt isn't thin, because working with small pieces on thin felt is really hard. So the line right here is just going to be an indication of the embroidery. I'm just going to rub this off, clean it up a little bit. You could even like lift it up and use your scissors to cut it off too. I've done that before. See how it just kind of lifts up? Take my scissors and cut it off, and then it's gone. Okay, so I'm just making sure that we're placing it the correct way. So the embroidery is facing the left side. So right here, that's the mouth. And we're gonna embroider that, and then I'm gonna do the same thing with the eyes. I'm gonna embroider all these little pieces, and then I'll come back and show you the colors. So be right back. Now that we've got the little face on, we're gonna do the embroidery. So we're gonna do, it's like a satin stitch on this end, and it's the green, 2 strands of green to match the little, this green, so it's gonna match. So let's do it. Let's start on the mouth, just to show you how I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it just outside of the stamp, so you don't see the stamp. And I'm gonna try and cover the black as well. So let's see here. All right, let's go. So I'm just trying to tuck the felt in so you can't see it, because I don't want to see the black, because the black is not part of the, I'm not sure if this is like the ghost's eye color, I'm not quite sure, but I might have to go back and like fill in the gaps. I'm just kind of, you know, creating like a little, I don't know what you'd call this, just like a start of a filler, I guess. But yeah, I'll come back and fill this in. It's just a little on the thicker side because we're going through 2 pieces of felt instead of 1. Oops, ugh, I hate that. I knew it was coming too. Every once in a while you gotta let the thread unravel. Okay, I'm gonna try and get the top done. And then just like turn around and go back down, if that makes sense. So now I'm gonna turn around. We're on this side. I'm just gonna go in between the gaps that I made and add more stitches in there. And it should fill it up. Sometimes I like to use more than 2 strands, but it only calls for 2, so I may go back over one more time just to hit the gaps that I miss, because some of these gaps are a little on the bigger side. Yeah, I might have to go back up one more time. I mean, however many times you need to go back and forth to fill in the gaps. It's just an awkward gap to fill because it's such a small area. Where did I stop? Oh, I lost my place. And whatever stamp you miss, you could always rub away later. I'm just using the stamp as kind of like a guide for my needle. So I can rub this away. I'm gonna come back this way. Fill it in a little bit better. Try to keep my thread on the flatter side so it covers more area. It doesn't want to go where I want it to go. There we go. It happens sometimes. You can always go like this and take your needle and just kind of spread the color around. Also, you know, you could always just leave it however you want.
Not even from the chest?
I might refer back to the picture to see what it looks like. It's probably a solid green. I mean, honestly, it depends on the look you want. So. So this is a little tedious, but once it's done, I mean, honestly, like, even from far away, it looks really cute. Just having that green in the back. So we're gonna do the exact same thing with the eyes, and then I'm gonna come back and do the little, the orange French knots right here. Okay, now that I finished the green, we're gonna put the French knots in the eyes, and it calls for 3 strands of orange. So I'm gonna try and get it dead in the center here. And I don't think it's gonna be big enough to cover the white ring. I'm gonna do my best here though. Let me see what the picture looks like. Yeah, okay. I might have to just get it to the center and then rub off the stamp. I'm going around twice to see if I can get the knot a little bit bigger. Okay, there's one. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to rub off the stamp. Not a big deal. And you can knot this in the back, or you can just skip to the next one, but I'm just gonna knot it real quick just to make sure it's nice and secure and it stays tight. Oops. Okay. That is tight. Put the one. Alright, I know it's hard to see because it's on black felt, but I'm trying to get it right in the middle of the stamped circle. Make sure that when you're doing your French knots, you come back down just a little bit to the side of where you came up. Okay, there's the ghosty. I clipped all my nails, so I can't really grab it, but I can grab my scissors and snip away any extra fuzzies. But I'm gonna double knot this again, Really get it nice and secure. Okay, I'm just gonna snip away some of the stamp that I rubbed off. You can even lift it up and snip it away like this.
What kind of badges you have? Buy one. Give it to her later.
Like that.
After they'll give it about who you want next.
Do your best. Make sure the eyes aren't looking a little wonky. And there's a little ghosty. Now that the ghost is done, we get to put it back on and stuff this little guy. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my clips again. I got some stuffing here. I'm gonna use my clips again, and I'm gonna clip the front and back together. I'm probably gonna start here and applique around the top, and I'm gonna add stuffing, and then I'm gonna keep going around here and add stuffing like that, and then close it up, because this is probably the hardest space, so I like to stuff the harder areas first. So I'm just gonna grab a couple clips, and I'm gonna start right here. Let me grab some white thread. I'm gonna start around here, sandwich my knot in between the two felt pieces, and I'm using the sequins as a guide for my needle. It's just the easiest way to do the applique stitch with the beads and sequins on pieces. So I might not stuff this right here just because it's so small, but I'll do my best. Okay, I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna stop here, and then I will come back and we'll stuff the top. Okay, I stopped about here. I'm gonna move my needle over here, and we're just gonna add some small amounts of stuffing. I don't want to overstuff this ghosty guy. Just gonna use my little chopstick. I'm just gonna put it just in the little arm. I'm not worried about the tip of the hands, but at least this part. So just do little bits at a time. I like using a chopstick because there's two sides, the thin side and the thicker side. So for like bigger areas, I like to use the thicker side. There we go, that's good. I might add a little bit more to the face. There, okay, I'll add some in the other arm. Just enough to create the effect that we want. There. Okay, now I'm gonna applique probably about 3/4 of the way, probably around here. I'll stop again, and then I'll stuff more, and then I'll close it. Okay, the ghost is finished, and he's so cute. And we get to attach this little guy to the sign. So I don't get this question a lot personally, but I have seen, because I'm part of a lot of the groups on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok that ask this question: how do you attach a finished piece like this onto another piece that's finished? So I left my tail, so I did double knot it, but I left it because we're going to use the same thread to attach the ghost to the sign. So we're going to position it, and I may use my pins this time just because it's a little bit easier to pin it, but I'm just going to position it and hope for the best. So sometimes I may have overstuffed, but I should be okay. I just got to make sure I follow the lines here. And if for some odd reason I don't go on the lines, that's fine. I could always, you know, rub them off later. But I'm pretty sure the picture shows, yeah, okay, so the H is covered a little bit. So that's fine. That is totally fine. So because we're working with poster board underneath, I'm gonna grab my clips one more time. I love these things. And I'm going to clip this guy. They open pretty big. I mean, that's not bad at all. I'm gonna clip him right to the sign here. Best I can. Don't worry about the beads. If you did them right, they should be secure enough to not be in jeopardy when you do this. Otherwise, use pins. But with poster board, it is a little bit tricky to use pins. So he's on there pretty secure. Like I can just wiggle him around and he should be good. So let's take in consideration that he does come off the sign. So we are going to add some stitches back here. But because this is poster board, we have to be careful. We don't want to go through to the back. Okay, that's the key. We don't want to go through the back. Even if this piece didn't have poster board in it, I still wouldn't go through to the back. So we are going to use the dotted line as a guide. Let's see if I can zoom in just a tad. Sorry for the wiggly camera, I'm trying to zoom in. Okay, so just grab the felt that's just underneath you and then come up. Try really hard not to bend the poster board. That's the tricky part, is the poster board. And I'm actually going to move this pin because I can't see my line when that pin's there. So go really slow here. These are considered tack down stitches. There's not as many as the applique stitch. I am just going in areas that I think need the stitch. So I am not going through to the back. I am just going through the front layer of the piece underneath and the top layers that happen to be white. Okay, now that we've hit the top, I'm actually going to go to the back because we're going to stitch back here. So I'm going to put my needle all the way through and we're going to flip this over and we're going to actually use the same stitch to grab the back of the ghost and add some stitches back here. That'll really secure him to the sign. And you won't ever see these stitches because these are in the back. So if they don't look beautiful, that's fine. They're hiding rather well, so I'm not too worried about it. See how far apart my stitches are? Pretty far apart compared to these ones. So I'm just gonna, this part's a little tricky because you can see the front here. I might just skip over it like this. Skip over it. So I'll go like this and completely skip over that section and kind of pop my needle out over here. And you shouldn't see it in the front. So there's little tricks you can do to really hide your thread here. Going through the other arm. Oops, keeps getting caught. Stop it. Still caught. So, there we go. There we go. Okay. Now, I'm gonna move this clip now. And we will make our way back to the front because we don't want to stay in the back for too long. So we're going to put one more stitch back here just to really secure this hand. Okay. And then we're going to flip it to the front and we're going to go through the front like this. Here we go. I think honestly this part is the easiest part. Doing it along this part is pretty difficult with the poster board in it. So the less you stitch, the better. So I'm trying to put them as far apart as I can. And I'm keeping my needle flat so I don't go through the poster board underneath. And be careful of your beads. Try not to pull or yank too hard because you can yank your beads and we don't want to do that. And I'm just going into the black and not into the green, into the black. Just enough to secure it. I'm just following the line underneath. I'm bending it just slightly just to get my fingers underneath the needle. Now I'm going to go into the green. Now that I'm in the green, I will go into the green and it will miss the black. So I'm not going into two different colors. There we go. There's the stamp. Getting closer to the edge, and we're going to do the same thing that we did on the other side. I think one more stitch will do it. It's gonna be closer together, this one. I could actually get away with this. Hold on. I'm gonna put it through. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna put it through and then I'm gonna flip it again and get it back here. Just like that. And it should be good. Put a couple stitches in the back here. And then we're gonna flip it back over again. And we're gonna do this side like normal. I'm gonna move this clip. I love these clips. Rinse and repeat. So ignore my husband in the background, he's playing a game. He gets excited when he talks. Okay, I'm almost done. So I started right here. That's just where I started. So I'm almost done. And then we'll be done with this first sign. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Lets me know that you guys like this content and you want to watch more. This is actually one of the first times I've actually done an in-depth tutorial, and I've gotten a lot of great responses from you guys. So thank you for all your wonderful comments and the views. It really helps me out. It takes hours to make these types of videos for you. So this part is gonna be tricky because it's like, okay, go slow. Try not to poke yourself. I just poked myself like twice doing that. Okay. If you have to bend the poster board, do it very slightly, otherwise the bend will stay. Because poster board is like that. Okay, I am going to stop here. And we're gonna put a knot right here. Well, you know what? Because there's poster board here, here's what we're gonna do. So I'm going to bend this a little bit. Normally I'd push it all the way. You know what? I probably could push it all the way through. Let me try. Let me try to push it all the way through. Oop, I did it. It went all the way through. Awesome. Okay. I don't normally do this, but we're in a really awkward spot, so I'm gonna push it all the way through. And now we're gonna do our double knot. That's the one good thing about poster board. It's very easy to push your needles through. Cardboard, not so much. Don't use cardboard. Okay, I'm gonna hide this as best I can so it doesn't look terrible. You can barely see that. I can probably rub it and the felt will just like cover it up. Okay, look how cute my ghost is. He's so cute. All right, we are finished with this very first sign on our wall hanging, and I think we've got 3 more signs to make, so make sure you subscribe and put on your notifications so you don't miss another video. My next video, we will be working on the next sign, which is, let's see if I can, the Witch's Way sign. So stay tuned for that video, and I'm really excited to show you how to make it. So leave a comment down below if you are currently making this kit, or if you have this kit and haven't made it yet, or if you're brand new. I love to hear from you, and I like reading your comments and hearing your input. So thank you for watching to the end, and I will see you in my next video. Check out the one down here. I'm sure you'll like it. See you then.